for any of you, what's the farthest that you remember traveling to support your kid for a sports event?
It's interesting now looking back, we spent a ton of time in Oklahoma that, you know, so it's interesting that that's where they ended up, especially baseball. We did tons of baseball tournaments in Oklahoma, lots in Louisiana. Now the twins, when I was pregnant with my 11-year-old, they got to go play a baseball World Series in Colorado. I didn't go on that trip because it was like literally like 2 weeks before I was going to give birth. So, but they got to fly to Colorado. I think they must have been 10, right, 9 right before they turned 10. And they got to fly with their team to Colorado to play in a World Series. So that's probably the furthest they went. I didn't get to go on that trip though.
Yeah. With traveling softball. I mean, we took all the kids. California was probably the furthest, Colorado, Illinois, Iowa, so Georgia, pretty much everywhere, Florida. So that was our vacation time too. I mean, travel ball was our vacation.
Exactly.
The boys didn't, they were tired of it. They're like, we can't do this anymore.
A lot.
Yeah, I remember when Avery first started traveling. I think he was in the 7th grade, and he started traveling every other weekend. And he was like, "Mom, I don't see how athletes do this. I don't want to do this." I said, "Well, if you don't want to do it, just let me know, because this is a lot of money we're putting out. So let me know." He was like, "No, I'm going to do it." And ever since then, every year, every summer, we're traveling all over. We've been all over. And I really just stopped flying because I was scared to fly. So him and his dad had been on a couple of trips, and he had this one trip his sophomore year to California. And he was like, "Mama, please, I want you to go. I want you to go." I'm like, "No, Avery, you know, I don't fly." He was like, "You're going to have to fly sometime or another." And I'm like, "Okay." Oh my God. I get on this plane, and he's sitting behind me, and they take off, and the tears just start flowing from my eyes. And he's like, "Mama, are you crying on the plane?" I was so scared. But now I'm a pro. I fly everywhere now. So if it wasn't for my son, I would never flew.
Yeah, we told Sydney we could have, you know, paid for everything, any college in the United States she wanted to go to with all the money we spent on travel ball. We're like, we could have just saved all that and just paid for college.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many sacrifices that you all have to make with the time, the money, the flying, like you brought up, which I don't blame you. I've never flown in my life, and I'm scared too, honestly.
I was scared of my wits.
Yeah, but you did that for your kid, and that's what I think is just so awesome about all these things that you all are doing, is to support your kids and to be there for them, whether they're playing sports or just anything else that they're doing. That's why I wanted to share these stories and really highlight what you all have done in respect to that.
Mm-hmm.
What is, whether it's at OSU or any other time, what is the proudest moment or maybe your favorite memory you have of watching your kids play sports?
Oh, I think there's a lot. You know, I think if in the end for me, it was probably, well, Tracin had 3 knee surgeries. So, but the comebacks after those, I think watching them, just, and I know that it had to be very nerve-wracking and frightening to come back from it and get back out there and try again. But I think so both of them, watching them come back from the major injuries and push themselves no matter how much pain they were in. And I mean, I think that just shows how much they, you know, our children truly love the sports that they play, that they're willing to sacrifice their bodies, and they're willing to do, you know, whatever it takes physically and mentally to be on the field and play the game. And so I would say, you know, being proud, and even of Tracin after that first time he was back on the field after he knew he would not be able to play anymore and had to stop playing, but he did not want to give up being there for the team and for his teammates. And I think seeing him, you know, on the field, not in uniform, in regular clothes, was probably a pretty proud moment for me, just knowing how difficult that was mentally for him to get to that point and to have to continue to watch his brother be able to play the game and all his teammates. So that's probably it for me.
Yeah, that's one thing that I wondered about too, is just when you have a kid who has faced injuries in sports, what does that look like? What's your role like, kind of supporting them through that?
My daughter, she actually was like the number one track star on her track team in high school. And like I said, she played multiple sports. So her senior year, she actually was getting ready to for her track season, but she played basketball as well. She tore her ACL and her meniscus her senior year before track season. So all the people that was recruiting her wind up falling back. So it was really hurtful for her and hurtful for me. She was really distraught that she couldn't run. And she wound up getting a partial scholarship to Texas Wesleyan. They rehabbed her back, and her first track meet back, she wound up breaking the school record.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
So I understand what you mean about a child being, you know, have to fight back to get where they were. And after she broke that record, she came to me and she said, "Mom, I don't want to run no more because I'm scared I will tear it again." So she wound up quit, but she broke that school record, and that was it.
That's awesome. Yeah. It is hard. I do think the mental part of injury is a lot of times way worse than the physical part of it. You know, having to deal with the, you know, not being able to play the sport. Am I going to be able to play it again? Am I going to be able to play it at the level that I played at before? Am I going to be as good as I was before? And all of those things that, you know, they have all these months while they're healing and rehabbing, you know, to go through the unknowns that go through their mind, and they question and second guess. And, you know, I think that mental aspect really is tough. It's probably the hardest part. And in my opinion, from what I have seen with my boys, that's been the most difficult.
Yeah. Seen it with my daughter. Avery hasn't had any, knock on wood, but I've seen it in my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, that story you told about her coming back to break the record, though, that's pretty incredible to see that. I imagine that had to be one of your proudest moments.
I was so proud. So proud.
Amy, what comes to mind for you, just thinking about moments that stand out watching your kids play?
I think because we have the Oklahoma City, where we play the World Series, the Hall of Fame, she had played there so many times as a kid. And I just remember her when she was a little kid saying, "I want to play in the College World Series one day." So in 2019, we made it to the College World Series. And I definitely, that was my proudest moment, because a lot of people have dreams and goals, and a lot of times they don't ever come true. You know, even you set goals and they really just don't come true a lot of times. And to see something that she's worked for her entire life come true, with, you know, the best 8 teams in the nation, was something I'll never forget. It was just really neat because she had played there so many times, you know, in high school and even in tournaments 12 and under and things like that. So seeing her on the big stage was something I'll never forget. And I'm hoping we'll get to go back this year. It's a fun experience.
Ooh.
Are there any other, you know, just stories, maybe whether they're funny stories or just memorable, anything that stands out to you all when you think about all your experiences of supporting your kids playing sports?
So before the twins even started playing sports, so my daughter, like I told y'all, was 4.5 years older than them, and she started out, really the first thing, she started out in gymnastics, but she was a cheerleader for a Pee Wee football team. And the twins were probably 2 or 3, I can't remember exactly. Anyway, they were little, And I really didn't take them out in public very often because, you know, there was 2 of them and they usually went in opposite directions. So I just stayed home mostly, you know. So, but we were at this football game. My daughter was cheering for this football team, and I got distracted by something. And then the next thing I know, like the whole football game is coming to a stop. And I'm like, what's going on? The twins were on the field, both of them. They were either 2 or 3. They had run onto the football field and they had to stop the whole game. And I'm just like, oh Lord, that I was like, somebody get your kids, what's happening? So and then of course my daughter and the cheerleaders are all trying to get them off. So I'm like, oh, it was a spectacle. It was funny, quite a disruption. But that's before they were ready to go then. That's right. That's what I said. They were just trying to get in the game even back then before they even knew how to play. They were on the field. Yeah. So fun times.
That is crazy.
That's hilarious. Yeah, like you said, they wanted to be on the field right then already. So
yeah,
an awesome story. Anything else that you all have, just stories that come to mind?
We would, both of my sons played football, and so we played every Saturday, and Sydney would go to the games and watch. She was probably about 10, 11 at the time, and during halftime, she'd go, because my husband coached both the boys in football, so she'd go out and throw the football with her dad, and he just kept scooting back about 10 yards, scooting back, and she was about halftime entertainment because her arm was so strong from softball that she could throw it further than any boy, and everyone was like, you got to get that girl on the football team. And so everyone in town was always like, boy, that Sydney has an arm, since she was a little girl, because she was the halftime entertainment for the football games.
So funny. What do you think, just for any of you, what would you say is the most rewarding thing about being a sports mom?
I would say at the end of the day, seeing the smile on my kids' faces, doing things that they love. You know, I see my daughter, she's her first year coaching track at her middle school. She was like, I feel like everything has come just in a full circle. Now I'm coaching kids how to run like I used to run, you know, and she enjoys that. And Avery doing what he loves, playing basketball. I think that's more rewarding for me, just the smile on their faces that I get to see every day. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That makes it all worth it. You know, I think to me, I have seen sports just kind of be the ultimate life skill coach, you know, for teaching moments for my kids, all of them. I think it teaches them just like everything, all the things we've talked about. They learn how to deal with winning and being gracious about it. They learn how to deal with defeat and dealing with those feelings of, you know, disappointment and not getting what you want. They learn how to deal with other people. They learn how to work together. I mean, there's so many things that my kids have learned from sports that I think have contributed to them being the people that they are today. And to me, that's the most important thing, is that they have been able to take the skills and the things that they've learned and really build themselves into great people. And that, in the end, matters probably more to me than any win or accomplishment that they have made on the field.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's the reward, is seeing your kid, you know, encourage someone who just struck out, or, you know, if they ever really are successful and they think, oh, I'm better than everybody else, and then they see someone else better than them, it knocks them down a little bit. Sydney was real dominant in high school in everything she did, and she goes to college and everyone is better than her, and so she has to learn, okay, I'm not as good as I think I am. I have to work hard for this. And you learn to be humble, and it just really does make you a better person. You have to deal with adversity and defeat and learning to pick up somebody else. So I think it's just built their characters. And I'm a huge advocate of team sports. Even if you don't want to play in college, get your kid in Little League, you know, get your kid to play high school sports, just to be involved. they don't have as much time to get in trouble. They're not crazy on the weekends because they're, you know, in a sport. So it's just it's a win-win.
I love how you all highlight the parts that go beyond sports too, because it is, you know, I know sports is such a big aspect of their lives, but it is, like you said, making people into whole people too. There's lessons that can be taken from sports, which is probably why I love covering sports, is because there are those life lesson stories that come from it too.
Yep.
As a closing question, just what advice maybe would you all have to offer for a sports mom who maybe has kids getting recruited right now, or even younger kids just getting involved in sports for the first time? What would you say as advice for someone like that?
It's a journey. Never give up.
Definitely.
It's a journey, and it's more rewarding than anything, especially when they're little. Getting up early in the morning, like you said, getting them ready because this is missing or this is missing, or you got to go buy this because they forgot it. But all in the end, it's rewarding. So just stick with it.
And I would also think not to take it so serious. I remember us getting really upset if we would lose, and by the third kid we're like, just have fun, you know, not taking it so serious. There's a lot of parents who you know, they're yelling at their kid, they're so mad at everybody because their kid didn't start, and it shouldn't be taken that serious. And I think you've just got to have fun. If you don't have fun, you need to find something else to do.
Exactly.
Absolutely. You know, I love that. And I think what we all said that we really have liked about our kids playing sports is true. But a big part of that is how the parent handles wins and losses, or how you encourage, or what you tell your child you expect from them. That's a huge part of it, because I have, which I'm sure we all have, experienced the other side of what we have wanted for our kids. The overbearing parent, or the parent who, you know, it's like win at all costs, or you have to win, there's no option. And then you see how that affects a child and the response they give. I can still remember one time the twins went to Super Bowl for Pee Wee football, right? And they lost. And they got the second place trophy. And there was kids on the team like breaking their trophies because they didn't want the second place trophy. And I think that all goes back to what the parent has taught that child, and what the parent gets out of the sport and puts into their child, and the expectations that the parents put forth for their children. And I think that that's excellent advice, that winning is not everything. You know, it's not the most important thing. There are so many more important things that come from sports, that your child is learning from sports. And if you make winning number one, then your child is going to have a skewed view of how the world really works and how to respond in different situations. So I think that would be my advice, is just be realistic and use sports for everything it has to offer. It has so many amazing things to offer and lessons to teach your child, but it matters probably even more what you put into it, and how you portray it to your child, and how the expectations that you place up on your child. And it should be fun. It should be fun, whether you win or lose. And that is one of the things I love about my boys, is that I've never seen them, you know, get mad at a loss. And they might not like it, or they might want to look at what they did wrong or what they need to do better, but I've never seen them so angry that like they couldn't talk to people after the game. They still come out and greet fans, and, you know, hug family members. And, you know, I know for some people that's not the case, that winning is everything. And then that kind of makes sports lose all the great things that it has to offer. So I think that would be my advice, is just kind of keep it all in perspective and take advantage of the good things that sports has to offer for families as a whole.
Yeah.
I kind of went on a rant there, but there
Well
that
said.
is.
Well said. Yes.
Yeah, that was great advice. I feel like I've learned so much from this as far as when I was in high school. I wish I had been athletic, but I was announcing games. I wasn't playing sports because I was not athletic by then, but I was involved in theater. I was a theater kid. And so I remember my mom always, she'd drive, and of course theater kids are loud, so she'd have a car full of us driving us to our one-act play contests and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, like the fact that she was able to put up with us just being so silly all the time. And so when I look at when I apply that to sports, too, I know it's the same type thing no matter what your kid's involved in. It's the traveling and supporting them and all that. So I really appreciate you all and admire what you've done from your kids' t-ball or youth sports days all the way to now when they're college athletes or in some cases preparing for professional careers. Like that whole time you've been there. And so I just really wanted to highlight that and really loved hearing your stories on this.
Thank you so much. I feel blessed to be on this panel. Y'all are amazing moms too, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity to do this with all of y'all.
Same.